Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Comox Valley Sewage Commission. And I appreciate that we have all of our commissioners except Kevin Stevens, the representative of CFB Comox. He won't be joining us today. We also have regional district staff, and it's great to have all of you here today. Thank you. I want to acknowledge that we meet on the unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. And we'll start our meeting with the resolution status report dated October 25th. A motion for receipt, please. Moved by Grant, seconded by Cole Hamilton. Any questions or comments? I'll maybe just acknowledge that it's noted in the report that work is ongoing in relation to the Sandy dump. And I'm just wondering if staff wants to make any comment in relation to what that work actually is.
Sure, thanks, Chair. And Chris LaRose is our Senior Manager of Water Wastewater Services. And Chris, I think if you can provide an update on Sandy Dump progress.
Sounds good. Thanks, James. And through the chair, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so we are progressing with our conversations with the single landowner that responded to our earlier in the year request for expressions of interest. So those conversations are going well, and we hope to be in a position to bring forward an update report through the commission in October.
That's great. Thanks very much. Is anyone opposed to receipt? That is carried. And we now have our reports. The first one being the Sewage Commission Management Advisory Committee minutes of their meeting dated July 31st. A motion for receipt moved by Grant, seconded by Swift. Questions or comments? Anyone opposed to receipt? That is carried. We have item number 2, the Village of Cumberland Biosolids Composting Agreement and an August 1st report for receipt. A motion, please. Receipt. Moved by Cole Hamilton, seconded by Grant, and over to staff.
Thank you, Chair. Kaylee Lemert is our Water Wastewater Analyst, and Kaylee will be introducing this report on the Biosolids Composting Agreement that's proposed with Village of Cumberland. Kaylee.
Good afternoon. Through the CEO to the Chair and Directors. In 2019, in response to a request from the Village of Cumberland, the Sewage Commission directed staff to prepare a draft agreement to receive and compost their biosolids at the CVRD's biosolids composting facility. The village is now in its final stages of construction of its new wastewater treatment system to meet provincial standards and anticipates that its first produced biosolids will be ready for composting in late fall. The attached agreement is for 5 years and is drafted to mitigate operational risks or ability to produce Class A compost requirements in consultation with the village's staff. The proposed rate of $150 a ton was based on the average projected operational costs over the lifetime of the agreement, including asset management costs for the replacement of existing infrastructure, and will be reevaluated for any changes as they occur. That's all from me, but happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Any questions or comments from commission members? Director McCollum.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the report. It's great to see Cumberland's sewage project coming to fruition. I know this has been a long process. Looking back at the original request was from 2019, which predates my my position here on the board. I had 2 questions. The first one is just around our existing capacity and how much room that we have in terms of this additional demand on what our facility can process.
Thank you, Chair. So our existing, so first of all, as noted in the staff report, the biosolids expected to the volume or tonnage expected from Cumberland is a fairly minor percentage of our existing capacity. That being said, the facility is operating not at capacity, but we are certainly starting to think about ways to expand capacity at that facility. As the Commission will remember, the facility was upgraded to supply additional capacity in 2018, 2019. But the community is growing, and so we are looking ahead. We'll be bringing forward a potential concept for facility expansion over the next year.
So if we're close to our facility capacity, we're going to reach that regardless, and that this is just a small incremental additional piece of that, but it's not really changing when we need to implement those capital changes.
That's my my perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to understand. Yeah, the dates are not inserted into the report either, so I wasn't sure how the timing lined up with our or how long we were entering into the agreement as it's outlined at 150.
Yeah, so it's a 5-year, proposed to be a 5-year agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we incur additional capital costs in the interim, that's not a long time to have to revisit those. The other question I had is in that original report, the recommendation from our staff was to require marketing and even the purchase of the product that's produced there. And in the contract, it is the only requirement is that Cumberland provide a link on their website. So I'm just wondering, is that because we're having an easy time selling the product, or I'm just wondering why it changed since we received that original report?
No, it's an excellent question. I think you're right. That is the case. We're in the fortunate position these days of having no shortage of customers for our biosolids or Skyrocket product. So I think that probably explains the reduced emphasis on that in the agreement.
Okay, that makes good sense. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. And seeing no further questions or comments, is there anyone opposed to receipt? Receipt is carried, and we have the recommendation that the Sewage Commission approve the biosolids composting agreement between the CVRD and Cumberland. Moved by Grant, seconded by McCollum. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Thanks very much to staff. And we'll move on to item number 3, the 2025 grant applications to the Strategic Priorities Fund. We have a report dated August the 5th for receipt. Motion by Grant, seconded by McCollum. And it's noted that this is here just for information. We have no decision to make, but certainly there's the opportunity for commission members to ask questions. We'll pass it to staff.
Thanks, Chair. And yeah, just a really quick update here. This report is also being considered on the board agenda for later on today. It was felt that putting the 4 projects under the one staff report would be efficient for the board to make that consideration. Board resolutions are required for these particular grant applications. Staff looked at the criteria for this particular grant program, the Strategic Priorities Fund, and was able to identify several projects that met the different criteria of the grant program and seemed like suitable candidates. Some of the criteria include that the projects be large in scale, have regional impact, are innovative, and support productivity and economic growth, a clean environment, and strong cities and communities. As such, as noted in the report, the 4 projects that staff would recommend are the Union Bay Fire Hall, the Sports Center Decarbonization and Accessibility Projects, Comox Valley Water Pollution Control Center upgrades, and asset management strategy short-term implementation. We felt it would be helpful to bring the report here because of the Comox Valley Water Pollution Control Center upgrades. And if there was any specific questions you had here, then certainly able to have that discussion. But like I say, this report will be on the board agenda for tonight for consideration. So,
thanks very much, James. Any questions or comments from commission members? And I see none, so we'll vote on receipt. Anyone opposed? That is carried. Thanks very much, staff. And we'll move on to item number 4, the Sewer Conveyance Project Construction Progress Dashboard. And moved by Grant, seconded by Cole Hamilton, the report dated August 25th. And it looks like we have staff to speak to this.
Thank you. Yes, we do. Charlie Gore is our Senior Manager of Capital Projects, and we'll be introducing this dashboard. Charlie, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, CAO. I have a short presentation to share, just to show some photos about the project and give an update. If I can, how's that come along? All right. So the force main is now set a 95% complete, which is really exciting. You can see the very long green line there, stretching from Courtney Pump Station all the way to the plant with two very small orange sections. So there's something going wrong in the presentation there. Yeah, that'd be great. It's full screen on mine.
All right,
Okay.
not to worry.
So there's only a couple of very small sections to complete, and that is just on the western edge of IR1 in the farmers' fields, as well as the plant tie-in. So that they're the section that's within the wastewater treatment plant over on Brent Road. So that's the only sections of the force main that are not yet installed. And then we have the major part of the work that's impacting the public right now. The remains are the two roundabouts that are up on Comox Avenue, both at Glacier View Drive and at Rodello. A couple of photos from this week. So this is the Courtney Pump Station. The concrete is now up and out of the ground. So this is the large underground wet well where our pumps sit. And you can see there the small pipes of the sewage that will be discharged on the top left there, and the large deep gravity sewer that feeds the station on the bottom right there. And this is the Comox Pump Station and Jane Place. So Jane Place is going to be paved out this Thursday. You can see the new curb that's running down the street there, and the subgrade is all there prepped and ready to go. And on the right, you can see the demolition on the eastern side of the station, where the new building extension will be that will house our new generator. And they're getting ready to start the foundation work at that station there. The remaining section of force main, as just mentioned, we're right up to the western edge of IR1. And so they're building out the last section in the farmers' fields to connect that portion in, and that will be the last section of the force main out in the public area of the project. And that's due to be finished by the end of the month, or the first week in September. And then a couple of photos of Comox Avenue. For those that have driven along there, you can see that the size of the work zone is very wide along Comox Avenue right now, while we're completing all of the interconnecting utilities between the two roundabouts. And you can see there on the right the finished product of the landscaping, the new curb, the new asphalt coming down Comox Hill, and all the replantings up on the edge there. All good news with regards to budgets. Everything is remaining on track, as well as the schedule, where we're on track to be completed the unidirectional flow this fall as originally scheduled, with the commissioning of the pump stations early next year. And that's it. That's my update on the project. Any questions or concerns?
Looks like we have Director Swift.
Thank you for the report, and I'm just wanting to confirm that it looks like the roundabouts will be completed in November. Is that correct? So we could anticipate that two-way traffic would resume at that time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It was lovely to be able to drive in both directions on the weekend of the Comox festivities. So, my question, Charlie, do we have any reports on the changes to Strathcona and the detour situation there?
No, I can update that the speed humps have been installed along Strathcona and Davis. They were installed Thursday, Friday last week, and they're currently in operation. We have heard from members of the public, both in support and against, as we have heard from in many aspects of the project. And I'm sure Ingrid can supply the details of that if you're interested. But they are in and in operation, and we are monitoring how that's. We have the traffic counter moved back onto Strathcona this week to see how that traffic changes now that it's been reopened to local traffic in that area.
Thanks, and I think we'll leave it for members to approach Ingrid later if they want to do that. We'll spare her the inquiry right now. Any further questions or comments from commission members? All right, thanks very much, Charlie, and I think you'll stay up for the next item, but we will just confirm receipt. Anyone opposed to receipt of this report? That's carried. And item number 5, well, actually, new business, item number 1, the correspondence dated October 1st from Mayor Wells, City of Courtenay. Motion for receipt, please. Moved by Grant, seconded by Kerr. And any comments from staff?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we included this this correspondence here for the commission's information and also to provide a brief update on what we have been doing and what our plans are moving forward here. Charlie has a couple of those details there, and we can support the discussion from that point forward. So, Charlie, if you can share the progress to date and where we're going.
Yeah, thank you, CAO. Thank you, Chair. So we've received the letter, and we've, as many would know, had many conversations about back road traffic over the last 18 months of the commission. The TMP that is approved by all jurisdictions, Ministry of Transport, City of Courtenay, is being followed exactly as it was designed. We have the exact signage as proposed in that plan. We've been out confirming that everything is still up. We have had a lot of vandalized signs throughout the project, but those that define the detour, especially the detour as it stands transitioning as those that are ignoring the detour and turning onto back road, all those signage are in place. The signage for the detour are defined by Ministry of Transport standards. It is a Ministry of Transport highway route, so we are constrained to their standard signage. And we have had our engineer confirm that the signage sizes and locations are all per MODI standards. In addition, the volume and speed that we are monitoring along back road in all 4 locations is staying well within the road classification limits. And so, you know, my understanding of and I have, maybe I could share it here on the screen, just what the TMP design looks like here, because it's not explicit in the letter, but it's my understanding that the concern is the intersection of Ryan Road and Back Road, and those that are ignoring the detour and turning right onto Back Road instead of heading up the hill on Ryan Road. And so you can see there that there is a no truck turning sign. There is a detour sign instructing folks to head up the hill. And so we have reviewed that signage, and we've reviewed the size of the areas that are available for signage. And there is space to add additional standard detour signs and or increase the size of the detour signs in that area. However, this goes above and beyond anything recommended by Ministry of Transport. And so the Ministry of Transport signage, the size of those signs is defined by the speed of the travel on those roads. And so anything larger would be, non-standard signage. So that's the piece, and I have photos that folks can look at to see exactly what those signs look like. These were taken yesterday out on site, showing where those signs are right now. Another piece of the letter was with regard to communications. I think that there was 1 bullet on the detour signage and 3 bullets on communications. We've done a huge amount of communications about the detour route. I think the community is very well versed in the detour, what the detour is, where it goes. And every time we do any changes in traffic, we reinforce that detour route. But we're not planning any additional major communications about the detour route. We don't see value in retelling the public who already know what the detour route is, what the detour is. However, we will, on receipt of this, add some additional social media posts, and we are willing to reinforce some more direct language around following that detour route in our upcoming communications when we do change our traffic patterns. But embarking on any new major communications regarding the pre-existing detour is not part of our plans.
Thanks very much, Charlie, and Director Cole Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Charlie. I was just wondering, I know that Ryan Road's a Modi route. And these are compliant with their size for signage. Is it permissible to place larger signs, or does Modi or MOD, I guess now, like restrict them to exactly that size? Because I think one comment I've heard in the community is their signs could be bigger and could be more sort of obvious and apparent.
Yeah, we would need their permission to change the plan, but it is not the sizes that are defined in the Ministry of Transport manuals are minimum sizes for that speed. And so we could ask for oversized signage and get that approval from Modi if it was so directed.
What would it take? What kind of direction might be required for you to take that step?
We would maybe to James.
Yeah, we included this correspondence, not necessarily looking for direction from the commission because we have the TMP. Following the TMP, the focus of the work now is, of course, on completing the work, and we're down to a few months from being complete that work, and we do want to focus our attention on that effort. Increasing the size of the signs may help. And it may not. We're not sure of the actual impact on that signage change. So we weren't looking for direction necessarily. But if the commission does want to make that direction and ask us to approach Modi with a request to install oversized signage, we can do that. No guarantee that we're going to get approval on that, of course. But it would be a sewage commission direction would be needed on that to go above and beyond the TMP.
Okay, thanks. And from what I hear from Charlie, it sounds like it would require their approval, but it's not something you would expect to be a long and convoluted process. Well, maybe I'll just leave it there and see if other directors are interested in perhaps putting a motion to that effect.
Thanks for that, and Director McCollum.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to speak in support of the strategy that's been outlined by our staff on this. I think realistically, those who are using alternate routes outside of the detour is not because they're confused about what the actual detour route is. It's that they're looking to get out of traffic and looking for an alternative. So I would be surprised if at this point, this far into having this detour route in place, putting some bigger signs in place would really change behavior. I do support the idea of pushing out some communication to the public, just reminding the public about the impact of using side roads and, discouraging that type of behavior and asking people to be mindful of traveling at appropriate speeds in residential areas when they're not on, the designated detour route is 10 or 20 kilometers faster than these alternate roads too. So I don't know if there's, room in the way we would push out these communications to remind people of, what appropriate speeds are in residential areas, but I'd rather see the emphasis on something like that and safety rather than putting resources into producing larger signs and working with the province on this, especially given that we're down to the remaining weeks of this project. So that's where I'm at with this. I think that, there's no question that residents on these alternate routes are being impacted by the work. But I mean, anytime that we do major traffic disruptions, there are impacts when that's underway. And some of those impacts can be mitigated to a degree, and other ones, unfortunately, just we have to deal with them until the work is wrapped up. So, that's where I'm at with
Thanks,
this particular.
Director, and we'll pass it over to Director Grant.
Yeah, thank you. So if you did order bigger signs, how long would that take roughly? Are we talking a week and then you have to order the signs and then they take a few weeks? Because the project will be over by then.
Yeah, I think that's a fair synopsis. By the time we managed to get a hold of the necessary people at Ministry of Transport in August to get approvals and then ordered signs and then got a contractor out there to install them, 3 weeks is probably.
Yeah, okay, so roughly a month. So we'd have them up for a month. I don't think it would make any difference.
Thanks for that. My only question was whether there was ever any consideration to a reader board at the Ryan Road Back Road intersection, similar to what we have at the corner of Cliff Avenue and the 17th Street Bridge Access Road.
No, there was never any consideration of a electronic signboard there because our electronic signboards are in locations where traffic patterns are changing. So we're using those to be able to change messaging and give readers of those signs the understanding quickly of changes that are happening. There is no change happening at that intersection. It's consistent for the full 8 months of the detour. And so there's no need for.
And we basically wouldn't have had any authority to suggest that Back Road was local traffic only.
No, it is an arterial road at that intersection. It's not even a collector, so it's classified as a very major thoroughfare.
Fair enough. And I know that you and Ingrid and the rest of your staff have had a belly full of Back Road. Not to be coarse about it, but I do appreciate the extra thought that you've given. Will there be a formal response to the city of Courtenay, or are we relying on commission members to take back this discussion today?
I think I can work with you, Chair Hillian. We can draft a formal response that will just reiterate the approach we're taking and appreciate the information, Chair.
Does that work for commission members? I'll take nods or any comments otherwise.
Maybe just to the point regarding reminding folks about the impacts on local roads. It is something we have considered and are very concerned about. As soon as you put that out into the media, you're identifying that local roads are another way to act as a workaround. And so it's similar to putting a big sign on Ryan Road saying local traffic only. You're putting an arrow there that people realize you can't take. And so it's not something that we are ignoring in any way, shape, or form. It's working with Ingrid and Ingrid's expertise to say the way that can be received is to actually exacerbate the issue. So just want to make sure that we're definitely not ignoring that request, but we have considered it and are trying, we believe, focusing the words on the detour has the best chance of keeping people out of our local neighborhoods.
Yeah, thanks for that. I suppose like many of the issues we deal with in local government, it's like the person standing at the gates of hell encountering two doors, one saying damned if you do, the other saying damned if you don't. No ideal solutions to solve this problem, but I think we all appreciate the work that you're doing, both in thinking these things through and also communicating with the public as they raise concerns. So thanks for this consideration today. No further comments or questions. Anyone opposed to receipt? That is carried. And we are at the end of our meeting. Thanks very much to staff and commission members for taking part today, and we'll take a motion for termination. Moved by Grant, second by Cole Hamilton. All in favor? That is carried, and we're over. Thanks very much.